Hello, everyone. I wanted to welcome you to week two. We start module one this week, so I want to go over that with you. So let's go ahead and get into our course. And you'll see here's our overview page, and we're going to go into modules. And then we'll scroll down to module one. So this is module one. It looks very similar to the pre-module that you just completed. Module one has the overview document, which we're going to go through with you today. It has a self-check, and this one is based on content now, so you're going to be wanting to use the required studies to answer those questions. There are discussion questions, and they are tied to the weeks. So we've got one for week two, and we've got another question for week three, and then there's your first journal entry due at the end of the module. All right, so if we go into the module overview document, you'll see that the module overview document gives you a nice kind of breakdown, an introduction into what we'll be covering. Our module one runs from weeks 2 through 3, and it's a visual arts module, right? So that's what we'll be focusing on, the visual arts, which include things like painting and drawing and screen printing and photography, but also things like architecture and sculpture. Okay. We'll be addressing these key questions. So what are the fundamental concern of the arts? How is creative expression the highest form of communication? How is the 3D experience different from the 2D experience? And how does articulation, negative space, focal areas, how do they all affect our perception and our response? And our main topics are visual literacy and the ability to communicate visually, spatial awareness and the faculty of discernment, creative thought, expression, and formal analysis, and the relationships of place neurons, place fields, and cognitive mapping. So this module has a lot to do with both the visual expression and creative thought, as well as how that links to us psychologically, right? So what separates us from, say, like an art appreciation course or an art history course is that we integrate all of the arts and we add in things like philosophy and psychology to help try to justify the way we think about things and understand it in a richer way. So here are our required studies. So these are the materials that you're going to want to master in order to understand all of our themes and questions. So you want to read chapters 1 through 4 in our text. That's going to cover things like pictures, photography, painting, sculpture, and architecture. And then I have a handful of links here which help enrich what our author, Sporey, says in our text. Some of this material comes from researchers like Dr. Betty Edwards, who was considered preeminent in her field, which was to study visual literacy and creative thought. Some come from more popular kinds of theorists, Julia Margaret Cameron, or Blaskovic, who does this experiment on how to use a tool that allows everybody to be successful in the arts. There's some information here about famous artists like Picasso and the golden ratio and the elements of art. There's an introduction to formal analysis, which we'll talk more about later. And then lastly, this is a really interesting one. It's a marshmallow problem, and it really does a great discussion about design thinking as well as creative thought. Right. So what's due? In this module, you'll have 3 things due: the weekly discussions, the self-check, and then the journal entry. Okay, so the self-check and the weekly discussions run just like you did in the pre-module. That's why we did the pre-module, to practice that. The only difference is the self-check now has content as opposed to just talking about the class. And the weekly discussions, there's more than one, right? Because the module lasts longer, it's 2 weeks long. And they are also tied to our course content and those required studies. Lastly, the journal entry is going to be an investigation into an artwork. I will be making a second video which walks you through that process if you're interested in. Okay. Things that you're going to want to do is to kind of practice like independent learning. So consider the main topics, look over those required studies, try to address those essential questions, and then achieve all the tasks. Okay. We use this graphic organizer in HUE 101 to understand all of the arts and all of the major ideas that we present in the class. It's known as a T matrix, and what it does is kind of walks you through like a visual outline of critical analysis. And so I'll talk more about this in depth when we do the journal, because we use this to help outline your journal. But just generally speaking, whenever we're talking about a discussion or a topic, we're going to start with description, we'll move into an analyzing it, then we'll try to interpret its meaning and its purpose, and then lastly, we'll judge what it means and if it's successful or not. Okay. A couple other notes. This module you can turn in late work for. In fact, all three modules, modules 1, 2, and 3, you can submit late work for. And the way you do late work is that you double the word count, right? So if you miss, say, the journal entry, that's okay, no problem. You can turn in for full credit. You just turn in the next module and just double the word count. So the initial journal entry is 300 words, so you would then make 600 words. The thinking there is, instead of punishing you for missing it, because that doesn't seem to make much sense to me, you have more time now to work on it, so you'll have more ability to do more effort and to spend more time investigating into it. So that's why the word count doubles. But then it's full credit. There's no points off as long as you double the word count. If you don't double the word count, then it does drop drastically in points because you didn't use the time to do that. Okay, and the way that works is you can only turn late work in from module to module. So I'll accept module 1 work during module 2, and I'll accept module 2 work during module 3. Okay, and the last thing I like to bring up is that I organize all of my courses like an argument. So the thesis for this course, right? The thesis statement for this course is, by examining the visual arts, the literary arts, and performing arts, it becomes clear that creative thought is a way of knowing and understanding the world. So module 1 is designed to help support that thesis. Module 2 and module 3 will also be evidence to support that thesis. And the post module will try to draw our conclusions. All right, so that's an overview of module 1. And like I said, I'll be doing a secondary video to give you more content for the journal entry. But for now, you can start working on the self-checks. You can go ahead and do all the required studies, and then go ahead and look at weeks 2 and weeks 3 discussion questions and get a jump start on those. All right, if you have questions, let me know. Good luck, everybody, and thank you.